Hello and welcome, of course, to all our viewers on our live streaming platforms to this, our ninth day of the new China series. Can you believe it? Day 9. So from, of course, southwest, northeast and southeast China, we continue bringing you stories of change and transformation as China celebrates 70 years since the founding of the People's Republic. Well, Day 9 brings us, the Southeast team, to Yiwu. We are on the road. We've just arrived in Yiwu. That is, of course, in Zhejiang province. And this is quite a, from what you can see outside, really, we are in sort of downtown city area, very developed city. We've been driving through some high-rise buildings and some really fancy apartments as we've entered into Yiwu. It is a rather small city, but one that never rests. It's known as the small commodity capital of the world, with the world's biggest wholesale market. If you're looking for anything, you'll find it here. There's so many unbranded products and inexpensive goods, non-technical items, but it is a mass market. So, of course, taking many goods from China to the world.
Yeah, and many shops here don't do retail as well. They all do wholesale because people come here to buy products wholesale and then sell to their markets overseas. And you're right, this is a place you can find pretty much anything you can think of, right? Phone cases, toys, scissors, utensils, you name it, right? Now, just opposite the road is the Yiwu International Trade City.
That's right, just out the window, I think.
Yes, just out of the window we can see it. It's also called the Fujian Market. It's not a single building. It is a proper town. It's a proper city inside. From what I know, it has 4 million square meters of area covered. It has 5 main districts. That's A, B, C, D, E sub-areas within each district. And then they're further divided into 11 alleyways. So these may sound vague, right? To give you a sense of scale, it is as big as about 8 forbidden cities.
That is unbelievable.
In Beijing.
That really is.
Yeah. Now, if you spend just 1 minute to check out each stall, each of the 75,000 shops in there, it takes you about a month and a half to finish them all. That's only if you don't eat, don't drink, and don't sleep. Is that amazing?
That gives a whole new meaning to the words "shop till you drop," right? Yeah. Well, this is a good time now for us to introduce our guests. Of course, on the bus we're joined by Andy Mock, a senior fellow from the China Center, rather the Center for China and Globalization, and a new guest that is with us today. We are joined by Silla, who joins us, of course, from Silla Chekina, who is a trader from Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa. He's also a well-known actor here in China and has lived here for about 20 years, 16 of which have been right here in this region, yes?
Yes, in Yiwu.
So, in Yiwu, specifically. Silla, just tell us a little bit about this city in particular as we're entering it and how it's changed over the years that you've lived here.
Wow, I can say Yiwu especially, we have seen the city growing. It's really fantastic. They have done a great job. When we come into this city, it was like a farming village in 2001. Actually, when you see the development of the city, it's really huge and fantastic.
It's hard to imagine that it was just a fishing village, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, just a farming village.
Yeah. And Andy, what do you think about the business model of Yiwu? Why is everything so concentrated in here?
Well, the main reason is efficiency. But let me just talk a little bit about why Yiwu matters. So we all know that the economic miracle that transformed China's economy, lifted 800 million people out of poverty, in some sense started here. Yiwu was one of the cradles of the Chinese economic miracle. And that's well recognized. But I think what's just as important, but a little bit less well recognized, is the role that Yiwu played in lifting the living standards of hundreds of millions of Americans by making things more affordable. Everything from socks to consumer electronics, home appliances, even Christmas ornaments. Yes. And this is why, I'm very excited to be here and talk, we'll be talking more about what exactly is going on in Yiwu. But I think the main reason a place like Yiwu works and is important is that it makes it very, very efficient for people, large companies, small businesses, to get the products they need quickly and efficiently to the markets overseas.
Right. Thank you very much for your insight. Now we have to go to our colleagues Taoyuan and Sean Caleb's on the southwest route. They are heading to Chongqing now. It's a city that I'd love to visit. And the guys, take it away.
Welcome everybody. We are now hurtling from Chengdu towards Chongqing as we continue our new China adventure. Now we're only a couple of weeks away from the People's Republic of China celebrating the 70th anniversary of its founding. And once again, I'm joined by my co-anchor, Taoyuan. And since we left one city, you know what that means. We have to add something to our table here in front of us. Right now we've added this mask that shows a little Chinese face changing. But and our two colleagues, as always, would you like to introduce them?
Alberto Lebron and Mr. Liu Baocheng. The two gentlemen joined us yesterday.
And today we're going to be talking about the automobile industry as we head into Chongqing. Obviously, the economic anchor for that area. Look at the outside first, if you will. Rolling hills. We've replaced the mountains and the plain, and again, cloudy, gloomy skies, but it will not dampen our spirits. Alberto, if I may start with you, a little bit about the auto industry. It has long been an anchor. It's kind of interesting where it is situated, right on the Yangtze River. Tell me why that has been such an important setting for industry over the years.
Well, first of all, we all know that China has topped U.S. as the largest auto market in 2010, and more than 1 million cars are sold in this market every year. Here in China, there is an interesting model called joint ventures. So international manufacturers come here, join up with local manufacturers like FAW, Chery, Chang'an, and produce the cars. While international manufacturers are producing the cars here, they are transferring technology to local manufacturers, then they can upgrade their industrial production. In my opinion, now the room for improvement for local manufacturers in traditional auto market is limited, but the opportunity is in the new market, electric cars. Now there is a Chinese manufacturer called Yiwu, which is going to enter US market for first time in history for local manufacturer, Chinese manufacturer in 2020 with an electric car. Please consider that China is leader in lithium batteries production, carbon fiber auto parts. So given the technology accumulated through this year in the traditional industry, China has a great opportunity to be a world leader in the production in electric cars.
Professor Liu, two pillar industries of Chongqing, automobile and electronics. It produces a third of all the laptops produced in the world. But Chongqing, I think people really should know that this is China's mountain city. It's situated in southwest China's mountainous area. Is there a reason, this is not very industrial friendly environment, is there a reason why Chongqing actually became an industrial base in southwest China?
Actually, the third pillar is still weaponry making, because
Defense industry.
right, in the defense industry, because Chongqing was the capital and also headquarters to fight against Japanese.
Right.
2/3 of the weaponries, bullets, guns were made here, and we were able to weather the strong aggression of the Japanese, and in the end we won the Second World War with a solid base in making weaponries. And now this base gradually were more translating to the civil industry, and Chang'an Auto actually was the one successful example to translate the defense industry into civil use by making more of the autos. And the other reason is, actually most of the heavy industry were lined up in the northern eastern area beyond the Chinese Great Wall. War because of the Russians' help at the moment. But after we had a big rupture with Russia in international relations in the 60s, and so the Chinese government decided to reallocate its industrial map, and Chongqing was selected as the one to at least to hide from heavy destruction if that really possibly going to happen. So now with all the historical industrial base and also with the new industrial mapping by the Chinese new government, and this really paved the solid base. As a matter of fact, China has 41 industrial categories by the United Nations standard, which is the most comprehensive in all of the world, and Chongqing takes 39 of that. So it's a very comprehensive industrial base. And now, they are really going for the modernization through digitization and also from lean management and trying to climb the entire global supply chain. And they have a great hope to move forward.
One thing I think we have to talk about when we're talking about any kind of industry in China right now, the ongoing punishing effects of the economic trade war. That is having a huge impact on the auto industry here. Can you, both of you, I'd like to hear from you, just a bit.
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword for the trade war because, yes, as a part of the retaliation measure, China has raised the tariff both for completed cars and auto parts, and that actually gave much of the relief to the Chinese auto industry, and particularly when they are very indigenous. But for those who rely on the supply of those auto parts, and that's quite a punitive structure. So now most of the car companies are really heading for contingency plans, and hopefully, this is going to be the 13th round of negotiation. Liu He is heading to Washington, and hopefully some clouds can be cleared by his efforts, and then situation can really be back to normal. But overall, trade tariff is really a disruptive force to the entire supply chain, and also a lot of uncertainty is injected to the entire auto industry, not only for Chinese companies, but also for global companies, because they have heavy joint venture partnership with China.
Alberto?
This is a bad story also for American automakers. Look at General Motors. General Motors is selling one car in China every 4 seconds, so raising tariffs would be terrible for this auto company. We were talking about the difference between international manufacturers and local manufacturers here in China. Of course, the market is scoped by international manufacturers in China. I mean the traditional auto industry, but of course there is room for local manufacturers to grow up, since exports from the United States are decreasing, and also once local manufacturers cannot export to the United States, there are big opportunities in emerging markets like in Latin America. By 2020, Chinese local manufacturers, I mean the traditional auto industry, will cope the market in Panama, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, and Argentina.
Guys, there's also a slowdown in the automobile industry in Chongqing. What does that mean for the city, and how do you deal with that?
Well, the slowdown for the auto industry is a global phenomenon. In my country, in Spain, the auto sales have been reduced by 13% in July. This means a lot of employment cuts, but this means that governments are promoting new cars, renewable energy cars. There are lots of policies to cut emissions and so on. So the moment now is to shift from traditional oil-based cars to new electric vehicles. And new electric vehicles sales are rising here in China as well, dramatically.
Professor Liu, very briefly, your take?
Yeah, it's China has really tightened the pressure of environmental control, and auto industry are facing tough challenge, and particularly for those auto industries that have not really been prepared for such a tough measure. So now we have very strong quota, and then many companies are not really prepared to have enough production of the electric cars. They have to buy quota from the government or from other companies who have surplus. And the other is, okay, China has reached a saturation point in terms of the auto population. But this is a good thing that they are forced to upgrade the more consumer-friendly cars and also more environmentally friendly cars, and then they go for go for differentiation to find their cutting edge to succeed in the marketplace.
Right, not just that though, but also the economic structure, the whole economic structure. Thank you guys for your insight.
Amazing, some great facts here. China, the #1 lithium battery manufacturer in the world, and also GM selling one car every 4 seconds. I did not know that. Good information. We're hurtling towards Chongqing, probably a little about an hour or so away. Chengxi and Lindy, back to you guys in the southeast.
5, 4.
Well, thank you so much to our colleagues in the southwest. That's Sean Caleb's and Tao Yuan. Well, we here in the southeast are, of course, in Yiwu, and right now we're driving through the main road of the city center. It cuts right through the city center, and as you can see around us, a busy day on the road. Big buildings in the skyline. You can't see it right now, but in a moment you might be able to see the trade center, the Fujian Market, that's very well known here. That is almost, it's situated almost all over this particular area. On the left-hand side of the road and on the right-hand side of the road, you just see how big this market is.
There's a bit of traffic too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, the market itself opens every day from 9 to 5, except for holidays, and it's so big that its export volume reached about $37.25 billion in 2018. It is absolutely massive. Well, let's bring in our guests once again to help us understand all of this a little further. Andy Mark, the senior fellow from the China and Globalization Institute, as well as Sila Chakina, who is a trader originally from Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa. Sila, I want to ask you first a question, just to perhaps tell us a little bit about your business, your trading business, and how it was that you came to set it up here in Yiwu.
Yeah, I'm a trader. I came to China. Previously, I was living in France, in Paris, and then I came in China in 1999 for a trade fair in Guangzhou. And during that period, I see China was a new area starting. So I decided myself, I said, wow, there is an opportunity here. Why don't you go and try? So I went back to Paris and immediately packed and come and land in China. That's how I started doing the business. At that time, it was very difficult to see a foreigner like an African sitting here and doing business. It was like something unimaginable. So gradually, and then we started developing business. We started in Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Yiwu. So that's how we started from the beginning until today. You can see.
Incredible! What a story.
What's the main business?
The main business is chemical, but as you know, in Yiwu, most of the trading business are doing a lot of things. There is not only one particular, but we are specialized in only chemical items. But the office is big enough. We have many different departments. But I can say the company is doing chemical business at least 70%. The other 30% is in value items, like hardware building and then small commodities such as.
Then what's the advantage of exporting from China to Africa? Is it plus tax, plus shipment? Is it still more competitive than the local?
The price is more competitive. First of all, African customers, African need, usually they are not huge customers. So you can see when you compare African to Western nation, they can buy one item, one full container. That's a huge item. Yeah. But in Africa, we needed to diversify many different items to pack into one container. Sometimes you can see a container with at least 50 items. Oh. Each item you can get 10 cartons, 5 cartons, such as. So that's give the huge advantage to Yiwu. Okay. So you want to buy 5 cartons, 3 cartons, you can get it. Instead of going to manufacturing, there has to be at least 100 or 200 cartons for one item. But Yiwu does not request such thing. So that's give big opportunity to Yiwu to start developing his trade business with some developing countries like Africa and Middle East.
Yeah. Andy, what are your thoughts then on the Yiwu model?
Well, I think it's exactly like Solo was saying, that if we think about like why do consumers go to a supermarket, right? Because you can get everything you want in one place.
Yeah.
So it's the efficiency, it reduces what we can call search cost or discovery cost. So especially for fast-growing markets like Africa, like India, like the Middle East, where, like Solo, you were saying, they don't buy in huge volumes, but they do want variety. So for traders, exporters, they can very efficiently find everything for their target market here. And for people that are not in the business world, it's easy to overlook, but time is money. And the more efficiently you can put your product mix together, the more likely it is you'll be successful.
And I guess that's the advantage of Yiwu compared to things like the Canton Fair, right? Because you place order, but you cannot reach your product, you cannot see your product firsthand over there. But
Yeah.
you came to China for the Canton Fair in the first place.
Yes, the first time. And then let me give you another advantage of Yiwu. Like you see, in China, you can see in every part have specialized in some specific item. But when you come to Yiwu, there is no specializing. Everything is in one place. That's give the advantage to Yiwu. In Guangdong, you can go, you get hardware and lighting, but you don't get toys and those things, you know. But when you come to Yiwu, whatever you need all over China, you can get any of them in Yiwu. So that's make it easy for customers to come in.
It's
Yiwu.
the supermarket for
Yes.
traders.
Yeah, let's
They're
call
not-
it like
They're
this.
not
Yeah.
manufactured here. They come from all
Mostly
over
are not manufacturing here.
But
They're coming. It's
to
a
the
strange.
supermarket, as you
Let's
say.
say it's a
Yeah.
platform.
Ah.
Like you say, it's a supermarket.
Yeah, it makes it convenient. Andy, here's one more question for you. A lot of the goods that are sold in the trade city are sort of the lower end unbranded products, things like socks and utensils, things like that. When China is talking about this industrial upgrade, manufacturing upgrade, do you think that the things that are sold here needs upgrading too? Do you think that is a trend in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we look at China's economic miracle, Yiwu was the first era, the first stage, and was the foundation for what we see today. So today we see companies like Huawei that are technology leaders, but we shouldn't forget that in this first era, it really was about very low-tech, low-cost items. You know, we mentioned socks, you know, more basic appliances, Christmas ornaments, right? And every stage of development requires different types of companies, different types of business models. So I think one of the challenges is that as we move into this world of e-commerce, everything is done even not just on a computer, but on your mobile phone, that it is posing challenges. And I think one of the big interesting things to watch is how Yiwu reinvents itself for this new era.
So I want to ask you a question. You mentioned that when you first came, that, you know, it wasn't particularly easy as a foreigner trying to start a business in China. To what extent has that changed today? Has government made it easier for foreigners to establish businesses in the country?
Definitely. At the beginning, first there was a language barrier. At that time, they were so dealing with local people wasn't easy because of the communication. But surely we started learning Chinese, of course. If you want to integrate, you have to learn local. You know. So that was the first step. And then secondly, it was not easy to establish a company by a foreigner. How difficult is it? First, like I said, the communication. And secondly, there was not a platform that you can go register yourself and through all the process to follow. You need to find some agency to help you go by every side. So it will take you at least 3 months to establish a company officially at that time. But actually, when you see the current situation, within 7 days you got your company created, everything is well done. And then you don't need to pass through an agent. There is a platform, a website, you just go
It's all online now.
Online,
Yeah.
that's
Amazing.
it.
In
So
English
things
and
as-
Chinese, or is
Yes,
it? Okay.
you got it in English, you got it in Chinese. There is still some barrier, you know, because of China policy. There are certain things you need to name your company in Chinese. You need to find a name,
Yes.
you know, in Chinese policy. You need to find a name in Chinese. So, and be sure that name does not exist in Chinese database. So that's taking a lot of time. Every time you mention a name, someone
right.
already has taken
Yeah.
it. So the whole process, but I think it's quite easy than before.
And I think this is also something that our audience might not appreciate, because everyone sees just the economic miracle and how living standards have increased in China, but maybe not completely understand why. Of course, it's the entrepreneurial energy of Chinese entrepreneurs and foreign entrepreneurs like Silla. But behind the scenes, perhaps more importantly, is the government reform.
Yes.
So we think back to pre-WTO. There was a time when, not just here, but in Shanghai, it would take you months and you'd have to get dozens of stamps or chops.
Yes.
And then, of course, at that time, Zhu Rongji, the mayor, became known as One Chop Zhu because he simplified everything, right? And we see this now today, that just how efficient government has gotten in China, and that's, I think, one of the huge advantages that China has that is not quite as well appreciated.
Yeah, I think I see that model developing in, especially in the free trade zone in Shanghai, because most of the approval processes can be done through one window now in one of the big business registration building in the free trade zone, and most of the processes can now be done online. I think these kind of models hopefully can be promoted nationwide.
To add one thing on it also, previously when you get your company license, you have a whole lot of license. Like you got the registration, you got the foreign investment license, you have the company code, you have the taxi. At least you got almost 8 to 9 papers.
Yes.
But all has been combined into one.
Unified
now.
into one, yes.
So things become more easier now.
And what about the customs process? Is that quite smooth and streamlined?
The custom process also before was very difficult, but today also is same way. It's easier. So you can go online, just apply to get your custom bill, and then just through the custom process. It's very easy. Everything is online now. Previously, you need to get an agent to go to the customer office. Every time you have to go, they can go at least 3 or 4 times in customer office. Now you don't need your presence, just online.
Wow.
So things become very easy in China.
And this also speeds up the velocity of business as well, which is one of the striking things about being in China, is just how quickly things are done, not just how quickly things are built, but the cycle, or what I think of as the clock speed of business in China, is incredibly fast. In fact, there's a joke in the startup world in China that 1 year in China is like 7 years overseas. So it's like dog years.
Definitely, I agree with it.
I think Yiwu is that representation of the China time, right? Everything moves very fast here. Everybody's chasing around the clock to do their business. Well, as we said, Yiwu is very big on exports. It is the epitome of China's export-oriented model in the past several decades. The goods from here are sold to 210 countries, I think now, and regions around the world. To give you some numbers, this place exports 3 billion pairs of socks every year. And also, as Enid mentioned, most of the world's Christmas trinkets, about 60%. So if you celebrate Christmas, chances are the light bulbs and the Christmas trees, thank Yiwu, right? Now, the county also has its own customs office. It doesn't happen very often in other counties.
I think it's those kind of things that makes doing business so much easier. That's probably the reason why it attracts so many foreigners. We understand that a lot of foreigners are coming here to Yiwu. There's a lot of visas for foreign residents here. You said here the number's about 130,000, which is considered a lot for a small city in China, isn't it? Yeah.
It's on par with cities like Beijing and Shanghai. The percentage of foreigners, but in terms of number, it's really big.
And you can see many customers also. They are not coming straight to Yiwu because Yiwu doesn't have an international airport yet. And then they started from some city, let's say the main city, Shanghai and Beijing, Guangzhou. Mostly they started from these 2 cities. They are the harbor, and then truly they come to Yiwu. And then even I noticed also so many people can buy goods outside Yiwu, but bring them in Yiwu to stuff here. There's something like this also, because the mixing of commodity in a container make Yiwu attractive, especially for developing country.
And so I want to get your take on, because you have first-hand experience doing business in Yiwu. I want to get your take on the style of doing business in Yiwu, because a lot of foreign traders we interviewed in Yiwu, a lot of them are European traders. They speak perfect Mandarin because they also sometimes need to haggle. So what's the style of doing business here?
Oh, the style is same. First of all, I think you have to learn Chinese. You have to speak Chinese. If you want to be good, you want to be clear with your suppliers. So you have to speak Mandarin. It's very important. Actually, we are speaking English, but I speak fluently Mandarin also.
Oh.
Living here 20 years almost is not 20 days, you know. So Yiwu model, let's say, now it's much more easier because most of the suppliers speak a little bit English compared to 10 to 15 years ago. So it's become much more easier. The beginning wasn't easy because you need always a translator to follow you in the market or whatever. But now we don't need that. Yiwu it become like everything is concentrated on one particular area. Even if someone who never been to China just land in Yiwu airport, you just get a taxi, they will tell you Fujian Market. They will just bring you an hotel close to the market. So you don't need any translator anymore. So things become really much more easier. It's true, somehow it's affecting each other, but we accept it.
There's another thing I'm curious about. I mean, I think when people talk about China-Africa relations, they think about it on the macroeconomic scale. They think about deals between governments, etc., which some of which has earned some criticism, actually. But a lot of the interaction, the cooperation between Chinese and Africans is actually happening on the business level in the private sector. What is the scale of that cooperation, would you say, from your experience?
From my experience, I think it's state company to state company in Africa. So we see so many private companies are going to Africa to invest. It's important, but it's not state company. So, like I said previously, what is affecting our business is that model of business because Yiwu was a center. So the manufacturing was connecting to the world through Yiwu market. So actually they get the line themselves to go to all over the world. So they don't need Yiwu market. I can give you some example. I know some big company, they open branches in many parts of the world. So they don't need to pass through Yiwu. So they directly supply the customer, and customer does not need to come here anymore. So the model of Yiwu is very specific, and the things are changing gradually. Things have to change. So we need to pass from the developing to innovation. Actually, we are in transition for innovation.
So
well, it's just like in the technology world, like when we see going from 3G to 4G, now to 5G, that we're in a new era. And I think that companies, cities, regions need to reinvent themselves or discover the new business model.
Definitely. The thing is, if you don't adapt to the new situation, you'll be out of business. That's for sure.
Yeah. So what are the new opportunities that you're seeing now?
For us, the opportunity is we are still investing in Africa also out of China because, like you said, the market in China is a really huge competition. It's very difficult for us to stand. So we are trying to invest in Africa. Actually, this is our homeland. We all know Africa is also a future. We have a bright future. So we need to think about Africa. That is my vision. And then I believe many of my fellows also have the same vision because we got an African organization here. We used to meet, every 3 months to see and then give advice how things are going to move, So we find out and then we agree in one common thing, returning to Africa, investing to Africa. Like Chinese are investing in Africa. Why we foreigners, we African, we can't invest also. So that is our point.
Yeah, the West African region is developing very quickly. A lot of factories are made.
So if we don't go now, we are going to be out of market. So we have to be in. So we started developing in Africa.
And I think from a global perspective, I mean, irrespective of how the U.S.-China trade tensions are resolved, we can see China-Africa trade and investment really just booming. So, as part of the Belt and Road Initiative, trade between China and Belt and Road initiatives are more than 500 billion this year. So, Africa is a very key part of that.
Yeah, especially countries like Kenya. They're very, very closely involved in that Belt and Road initiative. Yeah, well, of course, this has been a really fascinating discussion, and we're not even done yet. But we do have to cross over to our colleagues in the Northeast. Jonathan and Xu Xinchen, over to you.
You want to open it or do it? Go for it. Alrighty, Lindy and Yang Chengxi. So we're now in Shenyang, right?
Yeah, the road trip continues.
Yes, in Northeast China, and the old China's manufacturing hub is right here. And we're inside a machine tool factory, right?
Yeah, we're kind of in the heartland of China, just so you guys understand. The far northeastern part of the country, there's a lot of factories, a lot of mines, a lot of industrial bases, but it's all changing and modernizing, and this factory is a good example of that. It's called the Shenyang Machine Tool Company. Basically, this company makes machines that make machines.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
for like
mothers of all machines.
pretty much, yeah. Like complicated technical stuff that goes into factories, whether that's aviation, drilling, all kinds of different industries.
Absolutely. But then they have something new, right?
Yeah.
So look right behind us. These are some of their prototypes for their new products that probably can enter the consumer market. It looks like a wheelchair, right?
It's a fancy wheelchair. And we're going to take it for a spin. So this is pretty cool because this wheelchair moves in all different directions, to the side, front, it spins around. It's pretty easy to operate, actually.
I think so. Let's give it a try.
Watch out, sorry.
Ooh.
Like I said, it's easy to operate, folks. It's, here we go.
Ooh.
Watch out.
Oh, you have the honk.
Coming for you.
Yeah.
The future's coming for you, folks. So it is, it's kind of a lot of fun, actually, I gotta say.
It is.
And what's interesting is that it spins 360.
Yes, it is.
Goes backwards, goes forward,
Ooh, that's...
makes it really easy. And what's also, if you look at these wheels, by the way, I'll turn around and show you. Let me figure out how to move it.
What happened there?
The wheels, I might have stalled it out. The wheels here, look at the wheels.
Look at this.
So this technology can be applied to all sorts of different machines here, not just wheelchairs. We're seeing it on some of the other machines on this factory floor.
And the robotic arms can be utilize this core technology developed by Shenyang Machine 2. And in fact, all these...
I can't get enough of these. I think they're so fun.
Take one home.
And they're probably going to get irritated with us because we are using them too much. All right. So, pretty fun, cool stuff, I gotta say. Let's take you to another part of the factory floor and bring in our guest. Oh,
right here
cue.
is Xu Yizhi, who is the Zhu Zhixing, I'm sorry, who is the workshop supervisor for Shenyang Machine 2. So, 徐处长啊，就是我们可以看到，其实我们这个轮子的这个核心技术，其实和这个大的机器是一样的，
其实是一样的，它原理是相同的。
So I just asked Mr. Zhu, is like, what are the difference or the similarities between the wheel technology, as you have mentioned, and the core technology inside of this big box?
Okay.
And he just told me they're the same technology.
Just come on in.
Yeah.
Take a look at what's happening inside here. So, this is a machine that basically carves out of metal.
Yes.
Different products. It starts out like this, and then from this, it carves out something like that basket.
Well, can we just open the door for real quick? We can have a better peek. But it's different from 3D printing, right? 就是其实和 3D 打印是不一样的。
对，3D 打印呢是增材，我们这个是呢相当于是剪裁加工，在去除这个材料。所以刚才您看到这是一个我们一个实心的这个毛坯，然后逐渐的去去除形成的这个结果。
So because both Jonathan and I myself were confused about, isn't this just a gigantic 3D printer? But Mr. Zhu just told us because the process is quite different. For 3D printer, they add more material to build up. And this, as you have mentioned, right? It's like carving out from the original.
It's carving out of a chunk of metal. So I'm curious to know from our friend here, kind of, what is the purpose of these machines? Who does he lease these machines to? What is the hope that these machines have for the company?
其实我们讲这个主要我们客户群体是怎样的呢？就谁会我们租也好，买也好，买这种
就这类设备，
对，
这类产品我们主要是应用呢是对着我们这些机械加工企业做着，比如说像军工啊、航空航天呐然后还有一些比如说汽车零部件的还有一些通用机械的这些加工。
So their main customers are in the aviation industry, military, so basically manufacturers.
So this one is making a basket, okay, a metal basket, but it makes special, sophisticated parts. It sounds like for airplanes, for different factories, things like that.
I mean, it's one thing very important. Why these machines can be used for aerospace or military?
Yeah.
It's we saw it on our wheels. Right? It moves in different directions. So Mr. Zhu just told us, like, for traditional motors or molding machines, they only move in 3 directions. But this one,
moves in 5.
5 directions. And on this screen, it shows all the details things.
It's sophisticated equipment, I gotta say. It's pretty impressive here, and this is kind of a new era for this company, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know kind of why they're moving in this direction, why they're focusing on these sophisticated machines that rely heavily on digital technology instead of manpower.
Yeah. 其实我们可以看到，我们机床厂之前可能人工会比较多一点嘛。
对。
但现在其实这个一个人就能操作，就已经很智能化了嘛。
对。
就为什么有这样子一个转型呢？
其实这个跟我们正常的这个社会发展有很大的这个关系，人工成本越来越高。然后我们对于机械加工的这个效率要求也非常高。然后对于产品的精度要求又非常高。所以这个呢，靠人工完全去实现的话是不太可能的。
OK。
所以是
我先翻译一下。So Mr. Chu said that just look at the society right now. Labor cost is increasing a lot, and it just and also factories they demand efficiency. It just it doesn't seem possible to have old traditional like machines use a lot of man that can sell in the market. 但其实就讲到就是我们的转型嘛，这是必然的吗？还是我们什么时候开始进行这个转型的？
我们大概在2011年左右吧，这个时候就开始转型。2011年左右的时候，这个转型其实是必然的，是整个市场推行，你必须要这么做，不然的话你就在这个市场被淘汰掉了。
And he added that they kind of started to change from labor-intensive machines to these smart machines 8 years ago in 2011. And he said it's like the market, as China developed this market economy, it's what market demands.
So, of course. Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting transition here. I love our little wheelchairs. I love the fun thing.
And it's called OmniRoll.
OmniRoll, move without limits, it says. So it's an interesting example here of kind of the changing industries in northern China, right? As this moves from these old industrial companies that are as old as the People's Republic of China into these new modern firms that are trying to adapt to the changing industries, frankly.
To put it in a simpler way, they're trying to survive, right?
They're trying to survive.
Where actually
like
Shenyang Machine 2 has been kind of struggling. I'm going to ask our guests just for a little bit.
Sure.
So actually Shenyang Machine 2 was struggling a little bit. But how do you see the future of this factory? 就其实因为你像你讲的是我们市场让我们去进行改变的嘛，但其实沈阳机床厂也面临很多困难啊。
对。
就您觉得我们这样子改变能够带来哪些新鲜血液或者新鲜的一些能量吗？就是未来是怎样的？
首先，困难是这个大家都是同样存在的。如果在这样困难的情况下，我们其实也可以看得到，如果你没有核心技术这种情况下，你在这个市场当中就被淘汰掉了。那对于我们
核心技术，其实就是我们
我们这个控制系统我们有了这个核心技术，在这个核心技术的基础上，逐渐去研发，像比如说像机床，像那个 OmniRoll 这些产品，新的产品这样推出。所以说我们有不同的迭代的东西，把我们的这整个的产品系列扩展开这样有利于我们在整个这个市场环境下的。
所以我们对我们自己的这种设备非常有信心。
对，这是肯定的，这个信心是一定有的。
Actually, he admitted that they were struggling, and that's the reason why they changed their focus. But then he also has his confidence in this technology that they developed. And, they can move in 5 different directions, and he believed as long as they continue and be determined, they can survive in this market.
So, what does he think the future looks like?
你觉得未来是怎样的呢？就是我们的未来的话，
未来一定是
更多是像这样子会继续成为市场的主流呢，还是会我们需要去研发，用这个技术去研发新的一些产品？
这个是我们的初心也是我们的使命。我们一定会把它作为我们的基础的最基本的这个内容的。所以说，其他的衍生出来的产品，其实它是跟它进行一个有机的结合。
但是这之后会是更多的是其他产品，而不是机床。
这个是我们的主要产品。
So he just said because that's the technology, that's where they started everything. So this will remain as their core business. So all the other products, like what we see there, the OmniRoll, the wheelchair, or the robotic arms, are there efforts to diversify their portfolio? But still, this will remain their core.
Okay, so maybe in the future we'll see these wheelchairs running around the streets of Beijing.
Really? Or I just want to point out, for this machine, it costs about 1 million yuan.
Okay.
That's the market price.
Okay.
But for the wheelchair, at the moment, it costs the factory a quarter of a mil to produce.
4 of those wheelchairs equal one of these fancy machines here.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Almost, yeah, 4 of
almost,
this, yeah.
roughly.
And
Well, go ahead.
Or the things like, but as it reaches mass production, it might drop the price a little bit, or a lot, I guess.
Right.
And another thing is that, like, this whole factory is becoming more smart, and actually just learn all these machines are connected. They're not just using less manpower, but they're also connected.
So it's not just an individual machine here. These are all working together to build single products.
And we're thinking about the Internet of Things. It's being used here.
And another story about this company, frankly, is that as we walk around, you see the displays, you see the machines. This is almost in some ways a showroom, frankly, because their business model has now shifted to where they're not selling this equipment necessarily to factories that make all sorts of products. They are now making sophisticated, highly advanced pieces of equipment that they lease out to companies. So if you own a factory somewhere in the world, you want to make a special metal part for an airplane, you can come here to a factory like this, walk around and take a look at these machines and figure out which machine is best for you and which one will be the most cost effective.
Absolutely.
And really interesting.
And there's one thing that our guest wants to show us.
Okay.
我们那个 QR 码是这个 the QR code. I mean, we just have to talk
QR code, okay.
I mean, we just have to talk about the QR code here in China, right?
Yeah.
It allows people to pay things, to do things, and
so
now
can I buy this machine on WeChat? Is that what you're
not
telling
really,
me?
yeah. But now you can also use QR code to control machines. Is that just
wait? What?
Yeah.
So he's scanning the QR code.
Yes.
Okay. And
there will be an interface pop out.
And then he can control the machine remotely from his cell phone.
At least to see how far, the completion process, the progress, like how far.
So here it is. Hold up, it's a little slow.
就是我们在手机端呢，通过扫二维码呢，在手机端就已经形成了这个机床了。
So it's the real time.
Like
track,
updates.
update.
And what's happening inside? So
there's.
Come here, take a look at that. I don't know what's happening, but it's something. I guess it's carving out some sort of metal pipe.
I think so. 这个我们做的是一个什么？
汽车车轴。
Oh, that's the.
你看它的加工过程跟这个是实时同步的。
That's the thing that we use underneath the car.
You can see the monitor here as it tracks it to show you as they.
And that's the same.
And it matches on the phone. Okay. Wow. So I guess you can now run your factories remotely here, all through your cell phone. So it reminds me of those phones, those apps where you can control your lights in your house.
Oh, yeah.
This is the next level, basically. This is taking that to the extreme.
Improve efficiency and reduce manpower gas.
Completely.
它的运转和它的运转，还有机床的运转是实时同步的。
He just said like everything's real time, the animation here and also on the phone. Oh, and another thing I want to point out, because 5G is coming next year, right?
加工完成了。
I'm going to ask our guest first. 就是我们这个，因为讲到其实互联互通要网嘛，
对，
这个技术呢，就是感觉好像是得需要很多的流量，要很多这个。
对，但是其实并不用。我们这是机床，由它产生了这个数据，然后通过互联网传递给我们的手机，在我们民用网络当中就可以，它俩是实时同步的。这个技术确实是很有突破性的但是这个这种方式吧，确实也是领先在其他的这些企业。
And he just told us like how they can connect the phone with the machines. Like they use a different a data system here, but then they upload all the data from this machine to the cloud on the internet, and then distribute on 4G or 5G data so that
So you got to have good Wi-Fi.
这是一个跨越。
Yeah, absolutely. We're a good cellular signal, right?
Absolutely.
And thank you so much. Thanks for being with us. 谢谢你。
Thank you. Fascinating stuff. Yeah. So that's a look inside this factory
Absolutely.
here. Kind of looking at the future of China as it tries to move into this new era of using smarter machines that use fewer resources.
Absolutely. And I guess it's time to turn back to Lindy and Yangchengxi in southeast China.
Thank you very much, Xinchen and Jonathan. You guys were looking great on that moving chair. You look like Professor X. Now, before we wrap up this live stream, I want to talk about the impact of e-commerce on Yiwu, because like companies like Alibaba have their 1688.com follows pretty much the same model, same wholesale model, but they moved everything online. So Sila, how has e-commerce changed the city? How has it impacted the business here?
Yeah, in fact, e-commerce has impacted Yiwu traditional business, like like we say, the trading. So actually, people in Yiwu, the trader, they have to adapt to themselves to the e-commerce. So actually, we got a website in Yiwu that's also Yiwu. Also, we call it e-commerce also. And then most of Yiwu traders are on Alibaba and Taobao. That's e-commerce. So we need to adapt ourselves to it. So that's how we find the solution is only that. Besides, there is no other solution.
If you can't beat them, join them, as
Yes.
they say, right?
If you can beat them, you have to join them.
Yeah.
That's how we find.
But do you see less people like coming to the trade city because of e-commerce? Because
It's
they can browse
reducing,
online.
drastically reducing now. Because before, let's say in Yiwu, we got many hundreds customers coming daily, but actually it has been reduced a lot. So even if you go to the immigration statistic, you will find the differences. People are not coming because they can get online, they can directly order with the supply at home. So it has really affected Yiwu local business. You can see also the differences with the hotels. You can see many hotels are closing in Yiwu around the market. So
that kind of
yes,
impact, eh?
yeah, it's a really big impact.
But probably the business are not dropping as drastically as the drop in people, because they're not coming, but they probably are still
They're still
purchasing.
they're still
over.
buying.
They're just
Yeah.
not.
They're still buying, but they are not
physically,
coming.
yeah.
So we see the impact on tourism, but it doesn't have impact on business. Business is still going on.
Yes.
You see, and you see also in the restoration. In the restaurant, it's impacted. We can see the main area they call it Samauchu. It's a place there was all foreigner restaurant. All these restaurants have been closing also gradually because less foreigner are coming in the last few years. So it has affected some business, but have developed some business also.
And I think this is much broader than just Yiwu, because when we think about the disruptive impact of e-commerce, we can see it not just throughout China, but all around the world, where traditional malls are facing very similar challenges to Yiwu, where you can buy things online, you can buy your clothes, you can buy anything on an e-commerce platform like an Alibaba or Jingdong, but you can also buy your food, carry out, as well. So this is a challenge that really is something that many, many businesses and many, many, I think, cities are facing.
Yeah, that's very true.
And
Well, I did want to ask, but it's not so much on the e-commerce side, but something about just the success of the small commodity markets here in Yiwu and the impact that it's had on the manufacturing industry in African countries. I mean, some saying that, of course, bringing all of these small commodities into African countries has ruined, or I don't know, has made life very difficult for manufacturers on the continent. I wanted to get your view on that.
In my view on that, we've seen so many changes recently, especially in Ethiopia. You can see many Chinese manufacturers are moving to Africa. This is also one of the reasons the business are going down in Yiwu. The commerce between Africa and Yiwu are going down. When you see in 2010 and now, things has changed a lot. So this is one of the reasons. So it's affecting we business people here, because mainly our customers was focused in Africa, African customers. They used to order, and then now they can get the goods from the supplier directly at destination. It has affected us. An example I will tell you. Previously I got more than 30 staff. Currently I got only 4 to 5 staff.
Really?
So imagine the impact. We were very busy. We can ship hundreds of containers a month, but actually we ship less than 10 a month. So things has impacted us a lot. But we are still surviving, and we try to innovate.
Yeah, innovation is key.
But finally, before we wrap up, I want to show you the Yiwu Go that Sila was talking about. This is an app that's developed by that's dedicated to trading in Yiwu. They've got all these commodities here, and then when you click open one, it shows you the price, like at what quantity you buy. It shows you a different price, and then you can also go apparently visit the shop here, right? It gives you
everything you need.
A panoramic view of the shop. Is that cool? Is that cool? You can literally
really
be
amazing.
in the shop without being in it. Right?
This is exactly why people aren't physically going to the shops.
Yes,
They
yes, yes.
can experience it all just
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
lab.
The difference is only you can't get the product in your hand.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. Beside that,
Everything else
it's all
is
the same.
right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, our guests, Andy Mark and Sila Shakina, who is also an actor. We didn't talk about that part, right?
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
awesome. We should have talked about it.
We should at least get some autographs before.
Yes,
we
yes,
At least
we
a
do.
photo together.
Well, now this wraps up this live stream. We are coming to you again at 12:30 p.m. inside the Trade City, so stay tuned for that. See you around.
In 70 years, China has undergone unprecedented transformation. From its old industrial base in the northeast to its new manufacturing powerhouse in the southeast and to its emerging southwest. CGTN offers you a panoramic view of contemporary China. Our crews will travel along 3 different routes and come to you live from dozens of locations and free mobile studios. Join us for an all-inclusive look at China on our TV channel and digital platforms, September the 9th to the 20th. It is New China, then and now, in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, only on CGTN.